Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and joining me as always is DraftKings' favorite customer. John, how's the tournament treating you?
The tournament's treating me well. Thanks for asking, Zach.
Glad to hear it.
I don't use DraftKings that much, though.
Are you a FanDuel guy?
No, I'm not a FanDuel guy. Remember, I talked to you like a month ago about a run-in I had with FanDuel that left me kind of unhappy that I don't use FanDuel anymore. Do you remember that?
Yes. What do you endorse now? What should the webheads use?
I'm endorsing Fanatics, and actually, it's funny that you bring this up. Okay, let's do an editing movie magic cut, because I'm gonna get up for about a minute, and Zach, you're gonna have to edit it so it's like I never left, okay?
All right.
Okay.
All right, this better be good.
This was not planned at all, but it just so happens that today, here's the reason I use Fanatics, is because they have some like program where you get like a percent, it's like a rake. You get like a percent back on your bet, like cash back, right? And then you can use it at the Fanatics store to buy like real things. Fanatics is like the clothing company.
Sure.
So just today, I got this nice little Pacers quarter zip.
Ooh.
And this nice little thin Pacers hoodie for free.
Wow.
Now that'll tell you how much I've had to gamble with them to earn enough cash back. But,
you're a preferred customer.
I'm a preferred customer, but the tournament has been going well. And since this is the number one sports comic book podcast, who's going to win these tournament games today, Zach?
Oh, gosh.
The Final Four is in hours.
You asked the guy who doesn't even know who's in this year. I could not be more tuned out to college basketball at the moment.
Okay, well, I'll give it to you here, and you can just give us your gut reaction.
Okay.
It's the first game is Florida versus Auburn, I believe, and Florida is a 2.5 point favorite.
I'll go with Florida.
Okay, Florida wins. I'm only letting you know the spread so you know relatively what the who is a slight better team.
Here's what I normally do. I just, in my head, have colleges divided into, that's a football school. Well, that's a basketball school.
There's the haves and the have-nots. I agree.
In March Madness, I always just go with the basketball schools are going to win.
Okay, well then you're
interesting because I don't think of Florida or Auburn as a basketball school. Those are both football schools.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess Florida is more basketball.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Well, then I have a feeling I know who your second pick's going to be here. We have in the later game Duke going up against Houston.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Give me Duke.
The Dukies
for sure.
Okay. Well, you just happened to pick both the teams I bet on, so we'll be rooting for Florida and Duke.
And I'll take it one step further, and I'll say, give me Duke in the championship too,
against Florida.
They're the only basketball school you just named there, with my limited understanding of college basketball. This is every single year. They're just doing good.
Well, I do have 3 of these 4 teams in the Final Four, which isn't that hard because it's the 4 number 1 seeds are in the Final Four this year. And I do have Florida versus Duke in the finals, but I have Florida pulling the upset.
So interesting.
I don't know how much of an upset that'd be. It'd be an upset to you, I guess.
It would be, to the guy who hasn't watched any basketball this year.
Okay, well, since we got sports out of the way, now what else do we have to talk about? I know we're the number 1 politic podcast, and everybody always loves it when we talk about that.
Maybe we'll do a 25-hour episode.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
In honor of Cory Booker's 25-hour filibuster. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
He broke the filibuster record, and I mean, it's like the most performative thing ever, right? He immediately got done and asked for money, and people are like, this filibuster didn't accomplish anything. Like the whatever you were trying to filibuster still passed, and some people are talking about it like this was historic. It's like, no, it's not. We're going to forget about it next week.
This will go in the history books.
It does make me wonder, did he piss or crap himself in those 25 hours? I think.
So what did he do? What did he have to go up there and what did he do?
You just talk and you just hold the floor so you're preventing a vote from happening. But you can't stop talking. You can't sit down. You can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, so what did he do? Did he read a book out loud?
Dude, I don't know. I didn't watch it.
I think that's a really stupid rule. And I think it's stupid when Democrats do it and when the Republicans do it. Because you shouldn't just be able to talk about anything. If you're arguing for or against whatever you're arguing, you should be able to stand up there and do it for as long as you want to. But if you're just talking nonsense, then, that's inappropriate. You're wasting everyone's time.
I don't really care about whether or not it should be a rule. I don't think it should be a tactic that they use because it accomplishes nothing. If you're not changing any minds and the vote is still going to happen, then what are you even doing? It
probably was because in the past, maybe not everyone did have the same point of view as whatever their political party went with. And you could actually change people's minds, with new information or something.
Sure.
That's theoretically in West Wing. That's how it is, probably.
Right. In Aaron Sorkin's world, everyone's there for the best of reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe in 1890, we weren't so polarized, but nowadays I don't think.
Back when there was slavery. Yeah, we probably weren't as polarized back then.
I said 1890s specifically because if I had said 1830s, you would have said slavery.
Yeah. Well, good for Cory Booker. I'm proud of him. And my mom probably loved that.
Probably.
So, okay, nice. We covered politics. I don't have any new Beast information, unfortunately. So we don't have any Mr. Beast stuff to talk about.
Damn. I know people were really looking forward to that. We have to disappoint them and just talk about Spider-Man.
Okay.
On our Mr. Beast podcast.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get into the issues.
Let's do it.
But first, a word from our sponsor, Fanatics.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right. So we finished the Ultimate Doomsday miniseries last week, and we are finally back into the proper Ultimate Spider-Man series, getting into issue 153 and 154. And John, I'm so sorry to say we are really getting close to the end. Do you see what it says on the cover?
It said the death of Spider-Man prelude. Which haven't we seen this before?
We have not. This is the first issue this has come up.
There wasn't a death of Spider-Man storyline before that was called the death of Spider-Man.
There was not.
I thought that's what the J. Jonah Jameson thing was. When he wrote the epilogue or the
Oh, you're talking about during Ultimatum?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was gonna be the death of Spider-Man, but that was a fake out. We are now actually entering an arc that's called Death of Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a little sad, a little worrisome.
That is a little sad.
So now all that's left to figure out is if this is a true, literal death of Spider-Man, and if so, how it comes.
Well, let's see. We're down to about 6 issues left, right?
7.
7?
153 to 160.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so this one is written by Brian Michael Bendis, and it's got a lot of artists. It's kind of a jam comic. It's got Sarah Pacelli, David LaFuente, Lan Medina, and Ed Taddeo. And it's colored by Justin Ponzer and lettered by VC's Corey Petit. And John, do we want to give a little bit of a recap since we were in Ultimate Doomsday for so long?
Definitely. I was going to ask you to do that.
Okay. I'm going to read what it says here. Previously in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh, that's no fun, Zach. Come on. No, put it down. You got to give us your recap.
Okay. So, most recently, we saw the Black Cat show up to try and kill Kingpin. She was beat to it by Mysterio, and then she went back to retrieve some ancient Egyptian
Moon Knight
artifact.
looking thing.
A Moon Knight looking thing, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
An ancient Egyptian artifact from Kingpin's safe. And Carol Danvers and the Ultimates have decided that Spider-Man is too young and too bad at all of this to keep Spider-Manning around without being trained. So he is going to report to S.H.I.E.L.D. for superhero school, and he's going to get trained by the Ultimates before he gets let loose again.
So is this directly after Tony Stark showed up in the sky and was like, I'm here to take Spider-Man for superhero training?
It is directly after that.
So when did all of this stuff happen that we have been reading about?
The Ultimate Doomsday stuff slots in around this time.
After or before?
I would say just a little bit before.
Okay.
Because we saw Gwen hadn't run away yet, but also he hadn't started superhero school yet. But we know it was just around this time.
How do we know Gwen hadn't run away yet?
Because we saw her in the house when what is it? Gilroy the Terrible came to kill them all.
Maybe she hadn't moved back in.
Yeah. I think she probably had moved back in. I don't know. It's unclear because what really would have told us is if her and Peter were still dating, and I don't think they ever commented on that. But nominally,
it's around here.
It's around the same time. Yeah. Okay. So we open in Cairo, Egypt years ago, and we see a Jeep and some other car following it, driving down the street, and someone steps out, and it's John's favorite villain, Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin.
In a cool safari outfit.
He is in a safari outfit. Anytime a white person goes to Egypt or Africa, this is what they always wear.
Yep.
He looks like the guy who got Curious George. And he's like, "Are you sure this is the place?" And his driver's like, "Yes, Mr. Fisk." And he walks up to a door, and whoever he's there to meet with, this Egyptian guy, is like a little on edge. He's like, "You brought men with guns. You're not coming in here." And Wilson Fisk's like, "You need to let me in." And he's like, "You're not coming in without the guns." And it goes round and round, but it's just this very tense, hostile negotiation. You can tell he's a little on edge and doesn't trust Fisk. And they're negotiating the sale of something. We can't see what it is, but we can assume it's what Black Cat had found. Because it's all wrapped up. And Fisk gives the guy an ass load of money in a steel briefcase, and he says, "I think this technically makes you the king of Cairo now." And the guy says that a lot of good people died to get this thing for Fisk. And Kingpin asks, "How does it work?" And the guy says, "The scroll said it honors the request of the holder." And Kingpin's like, "Well, why didn't you use it then?" And the man says, "Because everything has a price." And Kingpin gets the item, and he starts to remove the wrappings. And we do see definitively that it's this Moon Knight-looking tool that Black Cat had stolen. And he repeats what the guy says. He says, "Honors the request of its holder." And he closes his eyes, and everyone around him turns to dust. Mm-hmm. And Kingpin looks pretty scared. It doesn't.
Yeah. What kind of wish do you think he made? Because it sure doesn't seem like he made the wish to kill everyone.
No, he seems bothered by this. So maybe when he said it grants the wish of the holder, it has to be a destructive wish. That is my hypothesis going into these issues, is I don't think this thing is actually going to accomplish anything good.
Well, yeah, it's going to have like a monkey's paw effect.
Yes.
where it's going to give you whatever you wished for, but in a stupid way.
Yeah, like if Kingpin internally wished that he was the most powerful person in that vicinity right there, it answered his wish by killing everyone else around him.
Yeah.
And he says, "Dear God," and he sets the thing down for a second, and then he picks it back up and he says, "No one can have this. No one can have this ever." And he just starts running off into the desert.
I don't like everyone's making Kingpin a little bitch nowadays. He comes back in this and he's scared of this little artifact and he's running away. And Daredevil, we've already talked about it. Why can't he just kill these people and be happy about it?
Well, I do kind of like... So here's the thing. We talked about if this thing is truly just an all-powerful item and that's why he's the Kingpin. It's not, his internal Kingpinness that brought him to the top.
Yeah, I'm glad he's not using it. You're right.
Yes. He kept it explicitly so no one else could use it.
Yeah.
But we don't ever get the sense that he used it to rise to his rank.
You're right.
Kingpin was still the man, whether or not he had this thing.
Yep. And now he's dead.
Yeah, he is dead now. But that's pretty cool personification retroactively, I think.
Yes.
I don't think it hurts his character at all.
That's true. And we were worried that it did when they had mentioned that when the first time this came up.
We are big-time water carriers for the legacy of Kingpin, Wilson Fisk.
That's
right?
true.
He gets a bad rep, and even though he's dead, we want people to remember him well.
Dude, there is a chance that things are better with him in charge, right?
That was the argument we were told the very first time he appeared, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man's like, why don't the cops do anything about this? And they're like, well, someone, if you take him down, someone's going to fill that power vacuum. And at least with Fisk, there's an order to things.
Yeah. Maybe he would have kept Magneto in check or something. All these big destructive events that are happening. Not on Kingpin's watch, that's for sure.
I would vote for him. Hey,
definitely.
He filled the pothole, right?
It's true. That's true.
Okay. So we cut back to present day in New York City. And we've got Peter Parker in his Spider-Man suit talking to Tony Stark in his Iron Man suit. And John, this dialogue just irked me ever so slightly because this is like Tom Holland Spider-Man talking to Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, but times 1,000. Everything he says is like, "Oh golly gee, Mr. Stark, you're so smart. I hope I grow up to be just like you. Wow, what's this do?" It's very out of character for how we've seen Peter talk most of this series.
And here, I read this and I was like, oh, this is fun. They're having a little banter.
They definitely, you can't say they're not having some banter.
There is a little bit of that, but, I don't think there's too much.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Well, that's good. Maybe I just was not in the right headspace to read it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not fun. I mean, I can get over it. It just makes Peter feel a little bit more like a fawning child with his hero, his idol, than a superhero in his own right who's been doing this for 153 issues.
Yeah, well, that is kind of interesting that I thought about when they're like, you have to do superhero training. And that was my thought. I'm like, are you serious? We're like at the end of the run. There's 5 episodes. There's 5 issues left, So, yeah, he's been a hero for a while at this point.
Yeah, you have to do superhero training. Since when?
But it's only been like a year for him, right? Or even like less, or I don't know.
Yeah, don't get me started on the time in this series. I'm sure we will talk about it at length at some point in the next few episodes, but the more you try and think about it, the less sense it makes.
Okay.
So the gist of their conversation early on, at least, is really catching the reader up. It's exposition about what they're doing here. and just reiterating the fact that Peter needs this superhero training. And Iron Man's like, all right, lesson number 1, hit me as hard as you can. Peter's like, what? This is where he says, "squeeze me," which is specifically a phrase that I don't like.
Yeah, it's annoying.
To give them their credit, though, it was funny the first time I heard it in like 2010, which is around the time.
Well, there you go.
So maybe it was like still cutting edge lingo back then, but it's definitely dated now. And Iron Man's like, you heard me, hit me. I want you to hit me as hard as you can. And Peter's like, dude, I have like flesh and bones and skin, and you're in like a suit of armor that's stronger than like an aircraft carrier. What are we even talking about here? I'm not going to punch you because either it's going to break my hand or it's going to break your suit that's like $10 million. So you just have no plan on how to train me. And Iron Man's like, damn, yeah, you read me. I don't have any idea. But he says, to my credit, I'm the one who voted that you didn't need any training. I said you were good to go. You're a totally fine superhero on your own. And Peter's like, wait a minute. So that means there was like a discussion and a vote about this. And Tony Stark is like, yeah, there was. He's like, and other superheroes said that I wasn't ready. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, and Peter's like, and so they had the majority. You got outvoted. And Iron Man's like, yeah, that's what happened. And he says, I'm only doing this because my girlfriend asked me to. Peter's like, wait a minute, who's your girlfriend? Are you dating Carol Danvers?
So now we know why her and Nick Fury, nothing ever happened.
Well, or it did, because Nick Fury's a dirty dog who he doesn't care. I don't know. I don't particularly like that. I would have shipped the two of them together over her and Tony Stark, but it's fine. And Peter's like, that's not a good idea, you know? And Tony Stark's like, I don't have to hear this from you. You're a kid. And he's like, no, you really shouldn't date your coworkers. And Iron Man, this is funny. He's like, do you think you just invented the idea of not pooping where you eat?
That is funny. Zach, have you ever dated a coworker?
I mean, I was already dating Shyla, and we have gotten jobs at the same place before.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never started work and been like, oh, this coworker seems like a good match.
Yeah.
Have you?
I have, and it does get awkward rather quickly, you know, when things aren't going great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's not something, you know, it's probably not a good idea, but hey, everybody gets one.
I guess. I'll say this. It annoyed me to no end at Ultra when certain people started dating each other because that got very annoying very quickly.
Yeah.
And when you're in a pyramid scheme, the other people in the pyramid scheme are the only people you ever are around because it's kind of like a cult.
And the people I've recruited to my pyramid scheme, I need them focused on building the pyramid scheme. Okay.
Right.
I can't have them not working hard because they're making love eyes at someone else.
Right. They can't be motivated by the nookie, right? They gotta have that grind set, be after the same goal.
Because they've got to sign other people up for our pyramid scheme.
Right. What was Spider-Man doing? Certainly not signing people up for AT&T. Okay, so they get off of the conversation about Tony Stark dating Carol Danvers, and they get back to the vote and discussion, and Iron Man's like, hey, you know, I'm the one who said that you're good to go. Captain America's the one who wanted to put you in jail. And Peter's like, wait a minute, Captain America wanted me put in jail? And it's like, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that, Tony.
They're just having fun.
This issue is more than anything a vibe. Because I think Bendis is realizing that he has to wrap things up a bit. And he's not quite ready to do it. And these are like the last just vibe issues that he'll get to have. Anyways, we cut to someone's house. someone's apartment, and we see them coming in through the window, and we can tell it's Black Cat. And she takes off her mask and wig, and she's got the thing from Kingpin's safe. She's admiring it, and all of a sudden a voice says, "How much do you want for it, Felicia?" And she looks up, and Mysterio is sitting right there in her house. He says, "I'm open to negotiation." And she's like, "Oh, you followed me home. How creepy." And he says, "I know who you are. I did my research on you. At first, I thought you were trying to get in my way, but then I figured out that you have a personal gripe against Kingpin. It's not that you were trying to take his place. You just wanted to take him down. I can work with that. You and I can coexist. I'm just going to need you to give me that thing that you got from his safe." And so he asks her how much she wants for it. And she gets a cool moment, too, where she's like, "Well, I did my research on you as well, Mysterio, and I know this and this about you." And they're both kind of jockeying for who has the upper hand and the power in this situation. But one thing is clear, that she doesn't know what she has. She just stole it because it was Kingpin's. And Mysterio is very aware of what it is. And he's like, "Come on, what do you want for the key?" And she says, "I want you to go away." And she's holding it, and he disappears. Felicia is shocked by this, and she holds up the key, and she's staring at it. And then Mysterio shows back up, and he's like, "Listen to me." And she's like, "Oh my God." And he says, "You just can't activate the key like that. You don't understand what kind of power you're holding." And she's like, "I didn't mean to." He's like, "I know. That's why you have to give it to me. That's how it works. You hold it, and you think about what you want, and then it either does it or it does some twisted, up version of it that's destructive." And she's holding it, and she's like, "What is this thing?" And Mysterio gives a long tirade about it used to belong to the pharaohs, and then the aliens gave it to them, and they thought the most powerful person on Earth deserved it, and that's probably why Kingpin thought he wanted it.
So do we actually get to find out why it's there, or it's just like a magic thing?
It's just this is the explanation we get is, oh, it probably came from aliens to the Egyptians.
Okay, it seems pretty magical.
It really does. Feels like something that should have been in Project Pegasus, like a long time ago. That reminds me, where do you think the stuff that Reed stole went? Do you think they retrieved it, or do you think it's just floating in the negative zone?
Probably just floating in the negative zone.
Oh, cool. Where they left him?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like a smart idea. And they're kind of talking about this, and they're theorizing, okay, if this thing is all-powerful and Kingpin had it, why didn't he use it? And they're like, I don't know. But maybe because the threat of it is better than actually having to use it. And she's like, yeah, you just kind of made that up. And he goes, yeah, it's just a guess. But anyways, you should put it down so we can talk. And she asks what Mysterio wants with it. And he's like, I'm going to rearrange things. She's like, rearrange them how? And he says, I'm going to make things better. And then she asks the right question. Anytime anyone says they're going to make something better, you always ask, for who? Not to get political again, but there's always a better for someone and a worse for someone else. And she's like, who are you going to make it better for? And he's like, everyone. What do you want? What do you want that I can make better for you so that I can do it? And she's like, well, if you're going to do that, why wouldn't I just keep it and use it? And he says, because there's always a price to something like this. And she goes, what price? And he says, more than you're willing to spend. And then we cut back to Peter and Tony Stark. And Tony is showing him around his, like, I don't know, penthouse laboratory where he's got all of his old Iron Man suits. And this was really fun to look at, John. Some of these, you can tell they just drew different versions of what an Iron Man suit could look like. But
well, there's a nice Easter egg here. Let's see if you find it.
One of them is Bender
from
Futurama.
You found it. Yep.
That's pretty awesome.
Way in the back. That is pretty awesome.
And then we also, on the other corner, we see the suit that he used for most of Ultimates and most of the Ultimate universe, where he's got this, like, I don't know, what would you call that shape?
Goofy.
Yeah. It's got like a pentagonal head.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. And Peter's like, "Can I have one of these?" And Tony's like, "Do you have $70 million?" And that's kind of a good fun joke now that we've had like a decade.
$700 million.
Oh, excuse me. Let me add a 0 on that. It's funny now that like in the MCU we had so much of, you know, the Iron Spider suit, and Peter's got Stark tech and everything. It's very funny now in retrospect to see a comic where he asks, "Oh, can I have some of this stuff?" And Tony Stark tells him no. Right? That's kind of subverts what we are used to from like a modern lens.
Yeah.
And Peter's just geeking out over this, and then he like stops and he goes, "Why do the other superheroes hate me?" And Tony says, "They don't hate you, they just think you're a spaz." And then Peter spazzes out and throws his hands up and he goes, "Captain America thinks I'm a spaz?" And Tony says, "Truth be told, I don't think he likes that much of me either." And he's like, Peter says, "I try really hard." And Tony tries to comfort him and he says, "I know you do. You really are a special kid. If you were just like a normal kid, you would be exceptional. But with these guys, that's not enough. You kind of have to be perfect." And Peter says, "And with great power comes great responsibility." And Tony says, "Yeah, you know what? That's not bad. I kind of like that. You should try to live by that motto. That's a good motto to live by."
That's fun.
That's fun. Yeah, Peter's like, "Yeah, what the f*** do you think I've been doing this whole time?" And just then, Jarvis is like, "Mr. Stark, there's a code-wide emergency in Soho." And we get a cool Tony Stark hologram of the city. And we get a lot of Jarvis talk about, you know, this energy level is fluctuating or whatever. You know, just stupid science talk. And him and Peter are like, "Oh, what is this thing? We've got to track it. Patch this through to Carol Danvers at S.H.I.E.L.D. Jarvis, upload this to the suit. We've got to go check it out." And then we see a big energy blast that reverberates through the hologram. And they're like, "Let's go, kid." And we cut back to Black Cat. And she's now standing alone in rubble. Like for blocks in every direction. The buildings are kind of falling apart. And there's a bunch of ash and cars messed up. And we see a lot of
plenty of skeletons.
Yeah, dead, burned bodies in the foreground of the image. And she's kind of freaking out. And Mysterio says, "What did you do?" And she's like, I didn't mean for any of this. I only meant for it to get rid of you." John, it sounds like this thing is really bad at fulfilling its holder's wishes.
That's true. It does.
It did everything but what she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still there.
He's the only thing left. Him and her are the only things left alive. And he's like, "You don't know what you're doing. You have to give it to me. You're going to kill us all." And she is crying, and she's very emotional, and maybe makes a poor decision. And she starts to hand it to Mysterio. And just then, Peter swings in, and Iron Man flies in, and Peter's like, "Don't!" And we see Mysterio holding the key. And Black Cat, I don't love this for her. This is not a great look, but she's like crying in fetal position at Mysterio's feet.
Well, she just killed like 1 million people.
Yeah, well, get over it.
I agree.
Mysterio's like, "Too late." And we see him do a big blast that lights up the night sky. And It says, "To be continued."
Oh, is this where Spider-Man dies? The death of Spider-Man.
Dude, it could be from Mysterio holding a random thing that we don't really understand. And then the next 6 issues is just everyone being sad.
That'd be awesome.
Let's see if that's what happens.
Let's see. Okay, what's your grading scale?
Okay, this one, I don't know if you could tell by me describing it. There's not much that I feel progresses the plot, and these conversations that take up most of it between Peter and Tony and between Black Cat and Mysterio, they're just not that interesting. They just recount the same details or express the same sentiments over and over again. And this key is really just it's just a MacGuffin. So I'm going to give this one a 60 out of 101 Dalmatians because we're in our 101st episode.
That's true. Thank you for bringing that up. I almost forgot to.
Of this podcast.
I'll go with, I'm definitely going to go higher because I thought the Tony Stark and Peter Parker parts were fun. They had some good banter.
Because to you, this is like a really critical relationship for Spider-Man, right?
Well, it's just always fun when the Avengers come in.
That's true.
And I don't know. I guess it was kind of boring. I guess there's not that. I do think all the stuff with the Moon Knight thing is interesting. So I'll give it some points for that. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that wraps up, but I don't like Black Cat's new look.
She looks like Catwoman when she takes off her wig, which we have not seen her do yet in this series.
And I still don't like Mysterio's look. Nothing's changed. So now I'm being critical. I'll give it a 67 out of 101 Dalmatians.
All right. And just to clarify, because we keep calling it the Moon Knight thing, it just looks like it would be from Moon Knight. It doesn't actually have anything.
Well, it probably is. It probably has something to do with that.
Well,
that guess is as good as anything else. Mysterio was like, it was probably pharaohs or aliens or some. I don't know.
That's true. How credible do we think his explanation of this item is?
Pharaohs and aliens could both be Moon Knight related. If a big skeleton man comes down from the sky and gives you a thing, who knows what it is?
That's right. The alien could have been Khonshu.
Yeah.
They could have just thought it was an alien.
Okay. We're getting into my issue now, folks. And guess what? I'm not as good at my job as Zach. So even though I did get the Bender Easter egg, I did not take notes. So, everyone have fun. We're all having fun with this one. Zach, jump in as much as you want to. So we open on Sad Mary Jane. And I don't like her look either. Man, what did they do to these artists?
So David LaFuente slipped all the way back into his full David LaFuente-ness in some of these pages. Because this is like, we had gotten used to his art and we thought that he had kind of reined it in. And then some of these, they just look like Picasso again.
I think some of them look just absurd, and I'll get to them. So MJ's walking home. She's sad. And Gwen walks out the door. And Gwen's like, oh my God, MJ. And MJ's like, you're back? I didn't know you were back. And Gwen's like, I am back. And I live here now again. And I was going to tell you, but I don't have your phone number. Isn't that crazy? And Mary Jane's like, so are you and Peter okay? Have you talked? And Gwen says, yeah, we're okay. So then Mary Jane's like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're okay. And her face drops a little bit. And then Gwen puts like a scary Joker face on. And she's like, we're not boyfriend, girlfriend, though. We're just dating. I just think the words she's saying do not match her facial expression at all. She looks like she's saying something sinister, but she's not.
She's saying that they're not dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said that she's saying that they were dating.
No, she's saying that they're not boyfriend, girlfriend.
She's telling Mary Jane that she has broken up with Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, this particular panel is just egregious because she looks like a demon offering you, a deal for your soul or something.
Yes. And then in the very next panel, Mary Jane has like I'll just say like the most stereotypical like anime someone is shocked at something face you could believe. She's got like the lines coming off of her head and she's just it's just absurd. She hasn't been told anything that's crazy, that is that crazy either, you know?
Yeah. I still can't get over Gwen's makeup in that panel where she looks evil, because I can tell what they're going for is like, oh, she's wearing some eyeshadow, you know? Of course Gwen would wear eyeshadow. She's kind of, you know, that's
there's no way they
could
look. There's no way they could look at that and not think that she doesn't look like Sinister.
Dude, that looks like black metal corpse paint.
Yeah.
That looks like she's trying to make her
and
eyes
her smile
look dead.
is you know, but it's fine.
Yeah. We'll be nice now, David LaFuente.
So they're talking and they're like, oh, that's great. Is Peter up there? And she's like, no, he's at superhero training with the Avengers. And just then, the big shock blast from the last issue explodes like a couple blocks away. And they're like, oh no, I hope that isn't something to do with Peter. And this is a different artist also. It changes a lot, just like Zach's. And they're like, I hope this doesn't have to do with Peter. And Gwen says, not everything has to do with Peter. That's crazy. And how wrong she is. Because it does have to do with Peter, doesn't it?
It does. They also, so the blast comes, and they're like, all of a sudden they're hugging each other, or like holding each other's arms. And then one of them, Mary Jane's like, why are we hugging? And Gwen's like, I thought you hugged me. And Mary Jane's like, no. And then Gwen says, well, this is awkward. Which, doesn't that just seem like the most like 2012 thing, you know, back when everything was so awkward. Oh my gosh, I feel like one of them should be doing the duck face.
Definitely.
This would have seemed so contemporary at the time, but it is a little dated now. Also, with what they're wearing, they're dressed insane.
Mary Jane's in her like reporter gear that we always see her in. She's got her tie on, you know. They both
look like things that like Avril Lavigne or Ashley Tisdale would have worn in the 2000s.
They do. That's probably who they look up to. You probably just named Gwen Stacy's two idols. So here's an architecture question for you, sort of, Zach.
Okay.
How far away is Soho from wherever Peter Parker lives?
Well, that would be geography, not architecture, but that is quite far. So Peter lives in Queens, and then Soho is a neighborhood in Manhattan. So theoretically, if this blast was big enough, they would see it lighting up the night sky, but it would not look like it's just down the street from them.
Okay. Well, we got them. Unless they moved. So, back in Soho, Mysterio's shooting this big beam, and Tony is managing to block it with like a force field thing he's created. And Peter's like, oh, nice block. Okay, now it's time to kick butt. And Tony's like, I can't. That was all of my power. My suit just automatically, you know, does it if it needs to block something, it just automatically drains the power, and it just drained all of it. That was the biggest blast I've ever seen blasted. So they're not going to be able to fight. And Mysterio's about to shoot another one at him, but then Peter jumps in and he kicks him, and then he swings by again and he kicks him again, and he says, oh my God, somebody just kicked you twice.
So that's not what happens, John. And you'd be forgiven for thinking so, because it's not clear in the artwork. It took me a couple times to realize what even happened. Black Cat on the ground beneath Mysterio reached her foot up, and you see her little black stiletto heel kick him in the face, and he goes, son of a... And then before he can even respond, Peter swings by and gets him with that second kick.
Oh, nice. So we get a little tag team action.
Yeah, Black Cat
is digging that.
Kind of starting to do her part to stop Mysterio seconds after she handed him the key.
And she did kill a lot of people. Let's not go easy on her here. Okay.
Well,
Lots of people dead because of Black Cat right now. True
You know-
supervillain. She destroyed a city block.
have you considered she's also pretty enough that maybe if she says she won't do it again...
I considered that, but they changed her look. And now, I'm not so sure.
Oh, okay. You're ready to throw the book at her until she puts that wig back on?
Exactly. So they're beating up on Mysterio. Tony Stark's just kind of looking there from a distance, like a father watching. And she's like, we need to get the key from him. And Mysterio shoots another blast. This is doing something annoying that movies do sometimes, where there's like the most powerful artifact in the world, and it just gets reduced to it can fire big lasers.
Yes.
Like this thing can do anything. It's sort of was, it's hard to not paint yourself into that box when you have something like the Infinity Gauntlet, with Thanos, where it's like he can do anything. So why is he just firing lasers at people? And they did a good job with that, right? He was throwing moons and turning butterflies into shards of glass or something, but
They
this
could have done more of it.
this guy's got a magic thing that does anything he thinks of, and all he can think of is big orange laser.
Yeah, I do hate when comics or action movies or whatever gets reduced to energy blasts and lasers instead of, showing some kind of creativity and diversity with the action.
Yeah.
I also think it's very funny that you said Iron Man is watching them from afar like a dad, because he's literally hovering. His suit mysteriously has enough power to let him keep hovering. It's not like he's on the ground and it's just locked up. He's still hovering in the air with his arms folded like a dad watching his kid's soccer game.
Yeah. And he must be watching on with some admiration, because he doesn't even see the big blast coming for him. And Mysterio gets him, and his armor kind of explodes around him, and he gets blasted back like yards away.
Yeah. Mysterio hits him with the exact amount of force to tear the Iron Man armor to shreds, but not actually damage the exposed skin on Tony's face.
God. Thank God.
Right? He blew him to safety with so much force.
Phew. Zach, stop complaining.
I'm not complaining. I'm describing.
So Peter webs the key. Awesome. I love it. I was hoping he would do that. Just takes it from him. And he's like, give me back the key. And Black Cat's like, give him the key. We don't know what. Drop the key. Don't pick it up, right? If you think of something, it'll do it. And everything will get destroyed. So they're in kind of a Mexican standoff. Mysterio's pointing the gun at Peter. He's pointing the gun at his head. He's like, okay, give me the key. And Peter's holding the key. And Black Cat's telling him to drop it. And Peter's like, but if I drop it, he'll pick it up. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, eventually Peter just gives Mysterio a swift kick in the face or something. They're fighting. I told you guys I didn't take notes on this one. He kind of knocks his hand away with his gun. Black Cat goes to kick him, but Peter blocks it. Zach, what is happening here?
It's really cool action. It's just a bunch of kicking and fighting and punching, and I'm not really sure whose side Black Cat is on, because she seems to be fighting everyone.
Me neither. That's what I was saying. But Peter is doing some cool things here, right? He's throwing the key up in the air. He's webbing them up, punching one of them. He does a cool double kick and then catches the key back down in his other hand. It's pretty nice.
You know what it reminds me of, in an abstract sense, is the scene in the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie where they're fighting on the wheel that's rolling down the hill. Because you just have to roll with it, first of all. It's just a rule of cool, right?
Like fighting on a wheel. You just have to roll with it.
Until it stops rolling, right? Because at some point it does fall over. But yeah, we're rolling with it right now. And then it's also one of those things where everyone clearly has their own differing goal, but it's a little unclear what they're doing or why they're all three fighting each other.
Oh, that's true. There were in that. Now, yeah. Good Pirates of the Caribbean reference.
Yeah. Dude, did I talk about this on the pod when a couple months ago I rewatched that first movie? And I just have no notes. I mean, that might be like a perfect film.
Oh, dude, I think that they're also good. Even the bad ones are fun, and the good ones are great.
Yeah, I don't doubt that the bad ones are fun, but like the very first movie,
It's so good.
For what it sets out to accomplish, you could not make a like family-friendly pirate romp of an action comedy movie better than that. I mean, I just imagine everyone that worked on that movie grew up like loving pirates, and that was like their hyperfixation, and they thought for 30 or 40 years on everything they would want to put in a pirate movie.
Let's give some quick snaps to Jerry Bruckheimer and Gore Verbinski or something, who are the producers and actors or directors or something like that.
And
I won't look it up. And
Hans
oh yeah, see, we did talk about the score on the pod back when I watched it, and it's amazing.
Orchestrated his ass off with that main theme.
It's a fun one.
One of the best pieces of music
Gets
I've
me
ever heard.
hyped. Absolutely,
of course it does.
I think we should probably have more tandems more often about how good the Pirates of the Caribbean movies are.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jack and Captain whatever his name is and the other guy are fighting on the wheel. And Jack manages to get hold of the jar of dirt with the heart in it.
Commodore Norrington and
and it is Will Turner. You're right. I was thinking that it was James Norrington and Cutler Beckett.
What's Cutler Beckett from?
See, Cutler Beckett is after Norrington. Norrington's like the bad British sailor in the first one, right?
Yeah.
But then he sort of gets their good redemption arc there over the course of the movies. Cutler Beckett he's like the new villain starting in the second one, and he does not get his redemption. He's the one who sold Jack he's the one that branded Jack a pirate and everything.
It's been too long since I've seen the second and third one, and I don't know that I've ever seen the ones after that, but he's the guy who is walking down the staircase in slow motion as it's blowing up, right?
In the third one, yep, exactly.
God, that's a great shot.
That's a good one. Okay, so they are fighting over the the jar of dirt. Just kidding. We'll get back to Spider-Man. So Spider-Man's got the key, and Mysterio's down on the ground, and he's like, "Everybody, calm down." And it's great to see you're alive, Black Cat, but relax. And it's almost as disappointing to see that you're alive, headless doofus. And he says that's Mysterio's new name. And that's how he refers to him for the rest of the conversation. He says, you'll now forever be called the headless doofus. And
we've got 6 more issues to call him that.
And Peter is just kind of like talking to him. And he says, but what were you two doing tearing down the village and my personal hero Iron Man with this, whatever it is? And the thing starts to glow in Peter's hand. And Mysterio says, don't kill us. And Black Cat looks awfully scared. And she says, I told you, I warned you. And all of a sudden, a big tornado seems to open up above the sky and just starts sucking up everything on the ground. So I am guessing this is because Peter was like, gosh, I wish all this junk would just get cleaned up. And a big tornado just started sucking it all up. Because he probably was thinking about having to clean up all this rubble.
Yeah, I would have liked it if the comic had said something like that explicitly.
Yeah, you have to be kind of like it's like subtext, Zach. You have to read what's not on the page,
Sure.
It's called media literacy.
Okay.
I was a telecommunications major, so I guess it just kind of comes easily to me. I don't know.
Okay, well, I was a media studies major too, so...
I'm kind of surprised you didn't get that then.
Well...
I just joshing. But that is what I was thinking. I was like, well, why would this happen? So then you have to work back. Well, why would it happen? Probably because he wanted to clean everything up. So this is, in a really stupid-ass way, it's cleaning up all the rubble.
But also, it would have been really nice if they had put that on the page.
Yep. And so Peter looks at the thing and he's like, oh no, please stop. And everything calms around him and everything stops. And he apologizes and he drops the key on the ground. He's like, okay, you were probably right. I probably shouldn't have that. And then all of a sudden, Mysterio has his gun again. And he says, get away from it. Get away from it or I'll melt your head. And he's about to shoot at Spider-Man. And then all of a sudden, Tony Stark comes in. I kind of skipped a little bit. Actually, Spider-Man knocks the gun out of his hand. And then Mysterio gives him a big punch to the face. And he's got the upper hand, but then Tony Stark comes in, not in his Iron Man suit. Very cool. And he rips this thing out of Mysterio's heart, and it's a tech thing. And that's what Tony tells Peter. He's like, it was a tech thing.
And he holds it over his head, and it's thumping, and he says, Kalima. Kalima.
What?
That doesn't happen.
I don't get
John,
that reference.
You haven't seen the Indiana Jones movies.
Nope.
Oh my god.
I've seen the best one, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that's the only one I've ever seen.
Okay, well go watch the second best one, Temple of Doom.
I just wanted to annoy people with that comment. Yeah, Tony's like, it's a tech thing. Come on, guys. His head was like on fire constantly. You didn't think that was a tech thing? You never wondered about this? And they're like, we kind of just thought he was a mutant, but also not really. No, we didn't wonder about it. And that's that. He's like, well, someone's controlling him, but that's just like a robot guy. That's not a real guy.
I love how scientific Peter is, but also just uncritical.
Well, I've been wondering how his head's been doing that since since the very first issue, and nobody ever did ask that.
I know, but you should. That's what anyone would wonder the first time they see it.
Yeah. So Peter just starts climbing towards the rubble. He's like, I gotta go clean up. And Selina says, where are you going? And he just kind of gestures towards all of the thousands of dead people and buildings that she has caused. And he says, you gonna help or not? And she starts helping people up, just like Peter. It's kind of cute until you remember that it's all her fault.
John, you'd be forgiven for calling her Selina because she looks like Catwoman here and also is kind of a Catwoman knockoff.
Oh, is this not Selina Kyle?
No, that's Batman, dude. This is
Felicity Jones.
Felicia Hardy.
Who's Felicity Jones? That's definitely the name of somebody. I'm certain of it.
Dude, I think that's like an actress.
It's Felicity Jones is the person that played Felicia Hardy or whatever Black Cat's name is in the Andrew Garfield movies. She's in like one scene and she never like even gets a name. Maybe they like comment on her name, but she's just like the Osborn's butler or like helper or assistant or something.
That's dumb.
That's funny. Wow. So they cleaned up the mess. Now Mary Jane's at home, just like in bed. She can't sleep. Then all of a sudden she hears something outside and Peter's kind of sitting there. He's had a bad day. And he just wants to kind of just sit there and talk. And MJ opens up the window and she extends a hand to him and she says, come on in. And they grab hands and then they go into the bedroom together and it looks like they're probably going to smooch a little bit. And then it says, next issue, happy birthday, Peter Parker. Happy birthday indeed. Getting to smooch on a pretty girl.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday. We love you very, 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 very much. Any Bright Eyes fans will get that reference. Everyone else will just be annoyed that I said very too many times. And it says...
or they'll be confused. That's the boat I was in.
Gotcha. And in the corner it says La Fuente. He like signed the page and then it says goodbye. So this is the farewell to David La Fuente.
Well, too bad. I guess we'll get someone else for our last 5 issues.
We will. I wonder who it could be.
Is it someone who comes back? Does like Bagley come back for the end?
Dude, that'd be pretty sick, wouldn't it?
Oh my god, I think that's what happens.
I mean, we'll see.
Cool. Next issue, the Sinister Six. What?
Oh, you're reading the little teaser?
Yeah.
Well, how about you say it more like a declaration for the webheads?
I was confused. Is that true?
Why wouldn't it be?
Next issue, the Sinister Six. Because Peter makes 6.
We might actually get the Sinister Six for the first time.
We might. There's 6 villains on here, so we might.
I mean,
and one of them might be Electro, or he might be Mysterio.
Or it might be Dr. Manhattan.
Or, yeah.
Dude, that would kill Spider-Man. Dr. Manhattan.
He'd obliterate him.
Dude,
he'd shoot a big laser at him.
Yeah. I got this awesome Watchmen shirt in the mail the other day, and I wore it because I was psyched about it. And then my little nephews came to visit, and they were like, "Is that guy bleeding? Why is there a hole in his head? Is that skeleton getting blown apart by energy?" And I'm like, this was maybe not a great shirt to wear around them because it's just a bunch of panels from Watchmen. And apparently it's
awesome.
All the worst panels for toddlers to dissect.
You're teaching them media literacy.
I am. They're like, "What's happening to him there?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. That's the back of my shirt. I can't see it." Just like intentionally not answering.
So what's our rating system with this one? How about out of 10 city blocks that Black Cat destroyed?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll give this a 7 out of 10. This was a pretty okay issue.
Okay, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It was good. It was
What'd you
fun.
like about it?
I don't know what happened.
Well, you just
Peter was
told
doing
us.
There was some good fighting going on, you know? I don't know. Just a general vibe, right? I'm digging the vibe that Bendis is putting out here in his farewell tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and Peter and
thank
MJ
you for
are back
using
together.
That telecom major.
And I think that Peter and MJ should date. So I'm happy that they're together.
Because she's the last girl we've seen.
Yes, exactly. I sure do hope Spider-Man doesn't die tragically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the shame of it, is it seems like there's something of a reset coming.
A ticking clock.
Unless we're in for a complete bamboozle and the name is just a misnomer, it does seem like they have to set things right back to the norm, right? Yep. So him going to Mary Jane over everyone he could have gone to might be for a reason.
Because she's pretty.
Well, yeah.
Well, Zach, we might be getting bamboozled. You know, I recently heard a phrase: if they've shenaned once, they'll shenan again. And, you know, they might be pulling our leg here.
Sure. Yeah. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. So what else do we have?
Okay. We're in our something else segment. We're done with Spider-Man for this week?
I think we are.
Okay.
I think we are. Next week, the Sinister Six.
Okay, cool.
Sinister Seven, if you count Peter.
Sinister 8, because I think Gwen Stacy's mom needs to be lumped in there.
And Gwen Stacy herself, after some of the images of her.
Yeah, she looked pretty sinister. You used that term.
I used sinister multiple times.
Okay, who else can we throw in there? Do you think Elon Musk is in this?
Obviously, the ghost from the movie Sinister will need to be thrown in that. Sinister.
Sure.
Himself. Bagul, I think is his name.
Yeah. Do we remember the Burger Frog manager who tried to hit on Mary Jane? I think maybe there's room for him on the team.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're done.
Okay. John, I have a rant. This may mean nothing to you.
Well, it's your podcast, Zach, so that's what it's for.
It's yours
to
too.
Complain about things. Yeah, it's for me to complain about things too.
Right. It's so much easier to do than to like be grateful or say anything kind.
It's time for another one of Zach's patented rants, probably about architecture.
It's not this time.
Okay.
Do you know what Studio Ghibli is?
Nope. Tell me about what it is.
Okay, I didn't think so. So
is this another jacking off thing?
No.
Okay.
This
Go
week,
on.
I have nothing to say about jacking off.
Okay.
I'll catch you up next week. Okay, so you probably haven't seen this either. Have you been seeing this like trend on social media where people do AI art in the style of like a very specific anime art style?
No.
Okay. Well, they're ripping off Studio Ghibli, which is like the most famous, successful, beloved anime movie studio.
Okay.
And the main guy of it, Hayao Miyazaki, the closest comparison we have for him would be like Walt Disney. He's like the Walt Disney of Japanese media, except...
Well, Walt Disney famously, stole a bunch of those ideas. So
I was just about to say.
So he might actually be more like the guy who Walt Disney stole all of his ideas from.
I was just about to say, he's like Walt Disney, except his ideas are more original.
Okay.
I think sometimes he's adapted like books or whatever, but for the most part, they're his own stories and interpretations and everything.
Have you like heard about the like Lion King and the other
that it's just Hamlet?
No, dude, no. I can't believe this. No, there is like I'll say Japanese only because I think that's what it is, but it might not be. There's like a story that came out before The Lion King, and it was about lions who were white. That was like their thing. It was about lions who are white. I'm pretty sure the name of the lion, Kimba. And it's like the story of him, like his dad dying, and he becomes king of the whatever, and there's a pride rock that he roars at the top of. It's like the story. It's like Lion King, but with white lions. And they're like, no, that's just coincidental thought. There's no way. There's no way. How could we have known? Our lion named Simba came from the lion named Kimba. And they're not sued into oblivion, so those Disney lawyers, I mean, they get the job done. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
Famously, the Disney lawyers do get the job done. I mean, if you die at one of their restaurants because they served you something you were allergic to, they are exempt from that because you signed up for Disney Plus one time, and the terms and services say that you will never sue Disney for any reason.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not hear about that story?
No.
Dude, it was super a lady's husband died at Disney because he told them about his food allergy, and they served him something with it anyways. And then their legal comeback was, well, in 2018, he signed this service agreement that said that he will settle anything out of court with us for the rest of time.
Well, I guess at least you can still settle, though.
Well,
that's all that would happen anyways, right? You never actually go to court against Disney.
But if you don't have that stick to wave over them, then what is the reason they would even give you a fair amount of money?
I wonder how that would hold up.
Well, they eventually had to settle for that lady specifically because it was getting such bad press attention. But for the rest of us, we cannot sue Disney.
Or we just have to tell the news about it when we want to.
That is the only thing, the only playbook you have.
Yeah. Dude, I heard from the person cutting my hair that Ryan Reynolds is no longer Deadpool or something. Is he going through, like, he's not involved with Disney anymore because of some production company thing? And I was like, I don't know. I
didn't hear anything about that.
Okay. I don't really care that much to look it up. And I also don't believe it. Like, I think I would have heard something if Deadpool got fired by the MCU,
Yeah, he's their Jesus.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the Studio Ghibli thing?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Here, I was trying to distract you.
This Miyazaki guy, he has been making like
Yes.
timeless masterpieces of anime for like the last 40 years. And is he like known as the anime guy? He's like the main director that everyone aspires to. And he has famously said before, like, the point of all of this is human hands putting pen to paper and laboring over something with love for months and months and months and suffering and creating a beautiful product at the end. And people have shown him like how to do digital drawing that makes it faster. And they've showed him like AI art and stuff. And he has said, this is offensive to me. This is an insult to life itself. Get the out of my office. And
Okay.
it's like, specifically to spite him and piss him off, it has become a massive trend on social media to do like AI renderings in the Studio Ghibli art style that this guy has like built his career on. So first of all, when you tell like ChatGPT or whatever software, draw me and my girlfriend in a Studio Ghibli style. Okay.
Wait, no. My girlfriend and me. Sorry.
Draw us in a Studio Ghibli style. It is specifically ripping off his art, right? It is like stealing his art as the basis of what it's going to give you.
Yes.
And then also people are using it for like super up reasons. Like even the official White House Twitter page, they like deported some woman that was selling fentanyl, and they had some picture of her in handcuffs crying. And they like AI Studio Ghibli-ified this woman in handcuffs crying as she's getting deported so they could post it on the official government Twitter page and make fun of her. And it's like all these people are doing this. It's like overloading the AI servers with so many people making Studio Ghibli AI art just to piss off this like good man who has said that this is his least favorite thing in the world, and it's specifically robbing him. It just makes me so mad. Like, I've gotten to the point where I am unfollowing people that I know in real life because they post it, or people where it's like, oh, this is a Colts account, and they thought it would be funny to draw like the worst fake punt play ever, you know, in the Studio Ghibli style. I'm like, I don't think that's funny. I'm unfollowing you. I haven't ranted about how evil AI is on the pod in a while, John, and I just need to rage against the machine for a little bit. But when you specifically do it in the Ghibli style, I mean, there's just something sinister about that. You just joined the Sinister Six.
Well,
did you just look it up?
I did. And you know, to me, it just looks like drawing. So the style doesn't really mean anything to me. But
it's
I don't know,
the
Zach,
fact that
that stinks. That stinks that something's happening that you're so upset about. And it stinks for this old man. Can't he just enjoy his life?
he is going to die soon, and he's going to think that this is his legacy. Is like he tried to make thoughtful, meaningful art that like expressed his values, and the world just turned around and like spat it back out.
Oh, no, he won't.
Oh,
Because,
he's
like
very
some
bitter.
dorks on the internet are doing. Well, then he should, close his laptop and move on.
I don't know.
I mean, it's like. Yeah, it's
Here's the
AI.
thing, I'm mad.
It's the internet. It can do anything. Yeah, people are doing f***ed up things with it sometimes. That's welcome to the internet.
Okay, Bo.
I don't
Burnham.
know. Well, I just bought a painting that was a couple of cats in Van Gogh's Starry Night. Like that's nobody actually painted that, right? It's not. It's just the internet. You can
There
find
was
anything
some
on there.
artist.
No, not for $30. I didn't. That's digitally made, right?
It's
I mean,
digitally made, but it's digitally made by an artist, right?
Maybe. Who knows? That could have been an AI prompt.
I would not have
Put
AI art.
two cats between. Well, I don't know if it is, but I don't know. Sorry, I. That stinks. It's his thing, right? People shouldn't be able to use it, but it's the world we live in.
Yeah, it's just soulless and
I know.
job stealing and
Become so
environment
bitter in my
destroying.
old age. Yeah, I know
If there's,
AI
like-
is really bad, and it's also so stupid.
if there's like one thing that I will always have the energy to hate on, it's AI. Like,
well,
generative AI that just steals creativity.
Luckily, AI is pretty bad, and it's pretty obvious to tell when something's AI, and it's just not very good. So I don't think that we have to be as worried as we need to. You know, it's so obvious when I'm taking these marrying classes, when I have to do discussion posts, when my classmates have just put in like a completely AI generated like response. Because I know what they read like, because I'll put it in also, and then I'll actually like, use it to help write what I'm saying, not like copy and paste it. And it's always so like, dude, this is so obviously AI.
Yeah. I'm the biggest old man yelling at a cloud about this. And here's my distinction. I don't care if it's good or bad, like visually. I think here's the scary thing is I think we might get to a day where AI isn't like super obvious because it's so ugly. And I still won't think it's real art, and I'll still think it's harmful, but it'll free a lot of people up to say, well, it's a better quality product now. I still will just be against it for moral reasons.
Yeah. I don't think that AI art or like music will ever be able to replace, like, because the thing people like about art is like the emotions behind it,
Exactly.
Like
I feel like
the author's intent means a lot in like art and music, and if it's just like an AI, then that's not going to resonate with anybody.
I fear there's a lot of dumb people among us who think that that's what they want and will willingly consume it instead of something that has some kind of
anything
human
to save a
soul
buck,
to it.
right?
Dude,
why can't everyone just afford hand-drawn art that's expensive as hell? I've got like a little 12 by 8 drawing of a cardinal that I love. Cardinals are special to me.
Why is that?
But it was like $250. It's like 12 by 8, That's like what real art costs. It's expensive as can be,
I'm curious, why are cardinals special to you?
Cardinals, anytime you see a cardinal, it's like someone who passed away.
Oh, is that what it
saying
means?
Hello. So it always makes me think of my grandma.
Aw,
that's
sweet.
Very cute.
Dude, I think I'm going to get into bird watching. I think that's going to be my next old man hobby after
That'd be awesome.
architecture.
That'd be awesome. I love a good bird. When there's a cool bird flying outside my window, I'm like, damn, that looks sick.
Dude, I had like a spiritual experience bird watching the other day because I was high on a walk and I ended up in like this clearing that was just pure nature, and there was hundreds of birds that were like singing as the sun was setting, and I just laid in the grass and watched one of them for a while. It was sick.
Awesome. Yeah, when I was in Australia, there was like a wild bird enclosure, and dude, there were so many just like cool birds flying around, like, it was pretty awesome.
That does sound cool.
Birds are cool.
Just to be semantic, can it really be called a wild bird enclosure?
I guess that's a good point. We got them. Put the alarm in. Okay, can we talk about Daredevil? Is your rant over? I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry I don't have more to complain about with you.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Daredevil.
How have you been liking it?
We're
3 episodes back now.
Yeah.
So let's see. We had the Miss Marvel episode with the bank robbery.
Right, where they said 100 times, oh, this is Miss Marvel's dad.
Which is good, because I love her, and I forgot that.
I like her too, but I would have been okay with them saying it once.
No, she's good fun. That was fun, I like her dad. He's got some good chemistry.
Yeah, I did like the bank robbery episode. It was fun seeing Matt Murdock in a situation where he's like,
he's got to die hard.
I could so easily handle this as like Daredevil, but I kind of have to play it cool, but I'm also in control of the situation, but I'm going to see if I can resolve this with my words first.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun.
The serial killer guy, that was pretty creepy.
Muse. I guess people are upset that he just didn't get a good enough storyline. But
dude, I thought his
fine. He was
storyline
creepy. Yeah,
yeah, it was very creepy. It was memorable.
Killed some people. Yeah.
It felt like I was watching a different show. Whenever he was on the screen, I felt like it was American Horror Story.
Well, I love that in these most recent episodes, we got Daredeviling again. He's back, and Kingpin is kingpinning again. He's beating up people. Did he do anything else
to make the fight
that
fair?
Was
and then still
awesome.
Killed him.
Oh, no, I don't think he killed him. I think he does that a lot. Maybe.
What?
Like, this might have been the first time he gave him an axe, but I think he lets him out to fight often because that dude was f***ed up, and we saw his knuckles earlier in the season, and they were like bloodied.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first time he's maybe given him an axe, which I love.
That was so cool.
It was.
And it's not even actually to make it a fair fight because he's doing it so confidently. It's like to taunt him. Like, you can't even get me with an axe.
Oh, definitely. The moment he stands in like the doorway and he's holding the axe and the guy's like, oh, is he about to kill me? And then he just throws it at his feet. I'm like, this is awesome. And then he is at, oh my gosh, the ending of the most recent episode. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's your interpretation of that?
Okay, man. I think my interpretation of this is that his wife was wanting to have him executed. And when he talks to the guy and he's like, call Vanessa, ask her if she wants a doggy bag on the way home or whatever he says she wants. I think he's like, it's like a you to her.
Let her know
he's still alive.
Her boy missed.
But I could see the interpretation of it that they had planned this together to have that guy executed.
Yes.
I hope not. I hope it's the other way.
I
want Kingpin in charge.
You want to see Kingpin versus Vanessa?
No, I don't care about Vanessa. I just want to see Kingpin in charge. I'm just a little sick of Vanessa.
I think Kingpin versus Vanessa is an interesting way to get him in charge, right? Because for so long, she was like the only thing he cared about, right? So what would it look like if he has to take her out of the equation? What is Kingpin fully unrestrained like? Especially if he still is the mayor by the end of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe couples counseling worked for them, or maybe it really didn't work. We don't know yet.
We'll have to see.
Now, I want to talk about that therapist on my favorite segment of the week. Why don't I trust this therapist? So let's talk about why don't I trust this therapist, Zach? Well, I thought it was a little shady when Matt Murdock is like showing up with bruises and whatever, and she's trying to give him some therapy talk, and she's like, listen, Matt, you don't even understand. You're about to throw away the best thing that's ever happened to you that's right in front of you. I'm just not sure I like my therapist talking to me like that, you know? Isn't that a little gaslighting? Yeah, so man, to be honest, that one conversation, I was like, I don't think I could ever date a therapist. I think that that's it just came across as kind of gaslighting to me. And I was pretty certain when Muse showed up in the therapist office, I thought we were going to get some sort of a reveal that she was like in cahoots with Muse. Like she was like setting him off to go and do these murders. And she kind of was, but unintentionally, yeah. I don't know. I'm not digging her character very much. All of her talk about masks, and she just seems like she's playing too many angles.
Yeah, and then she was coming on really heavy when she was like, can you introduce me to the Punisher? Can you introduce me to Daredevil?
Yeah.
She definitely knows more than she's letting on.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. I will say, I think it's funny that you were like saying that she's like being gaslighty, because I'm realizing this is a cool thing whenever shows up in media. I like the idea of therapists who, when they clock out, they're like the most anti-therapist. Like they're a little bit toxic, right? Because, my favorite movie is The Departed, and Vera Farmiga is like that, right? She starts like cheating on her boyfriend with a client, and she's doing all this.
She's way in deep. Yeah,
toxic stuff. Yeah, she's inserting herself into this like cops versus gangsters war without knowing it.
It's important to know that therapists are just people like you and me who suck at their job. Don't follow and don't, they're big do what I say, not what I do people,
Yeah, that was fun in The Departed, and I can see it being fun if they do that in Daredevil as well.
Yeah. But pretty good. These are some good episodes. I've been liking it. We only get one more.
I will say, and I don't know if this is because of what you said last week, where the creative team kind of changed late in the game and they had their hands tied. I don't find myself thinking of it as good of a show as it was when it was on Netflix.
Definitely not.
It feels
no way
a little bit sanitized from that. And I don't know.
Which is interesting because they're like trying to make it seem like hardcore and gritty, right? Like they're dropping F-bombs like every episode now. And they didn't do that when it was on Netflix, but that's kind of what I meant, where they're like, they're trying to make it seem like this, but they're not actually like, I don't know. It's just not resonating as much. I don't think it's as good.
There was an element to the original show that was almost like Alfred Hitchcocky, in the sense that it's like, well, they're not actually saying or doing anything that's super offensive or shock value-y, but just like the way that they shoot it, the way that the music works, the way they frame certain things, there's always a tension, and that tension builds up and you feel it as the viewer. And I just don't think they're as good at manufacturing that this time.
Maybe it's because it was like you're kind of in the Netflix series, you're being introduced to this like crime underworld, and everything is like secretive, and now the mayor's fixing potholes. So it's just kind of different, right? In the original one, that guy threw his head through a spike just to avoid the wrath of Kingpin. And that doesn't feel like the same type of villain that we have at the moment.
John, I'm surprised that you, as a resident of Indianapolis, don't love the idea of a mayor who fixes potholes.
I do.
That's like what we've been missing forever, dude.
That's true. That's why I'd vote for Kingpin.
I stood up and clapped at that scene. I was moved.
But I just know it's going to like collapse. And that's going to be like the downfall of Kingpin, is going to be like that pothole that he fixed.
You think that's going to be his undoing?
I don't know, maybe. That'll be the Adam Eve special.
That would be the most, who's that gangster?
The one who got caught on his taxes.
Tax of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of his name?
Alcatraz.
Al Bundy. It's not. I know that's not it. It's not Ted Bundy. It's Al Capone.
Yes.
That'd be the most Al Capone way for Kingpin to get taken down, is like, oh, well, you didn't even have the proper paperwork.
You didn't have the permits.
Yeah.
Pretty good, though. Okay, well, what's going to happen in this season finale? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. In this season, so we've only got one more episode?
I think so.
Okay.
Is it going to be Kingpin versus Vanessa, or Kingpin and Vanessa teamed up?
I feel like in one episode, I think Kingpin and Vanessa versus Daredevil is a story that they could tell in one episode, but that's not what I hope it turns into. I don't know. What do you think?
I think we're going to see a Kingpin versus Vanessa, and hopefully a big, maybe not a big punch up with Daredevil and Kingpin, because where would they? It's got to be somewhere. We're going to have to end on some sort of a cliffhanger for season 2, but I don't know. I guess I wouldn't mind seeing a little punch up. Doesn't have to be a big one.
What if all the characters resolved this in therapy together?
Not with
I mean, that's really what they've been building towards, right?
That actually, if there was a common theme for this season, it would be if we can just get everyone in therapy together, we can probably resolve this. Even the Punisher looked like he needed a good talk.
Okay, that is another interesting thing. I just thought of is the theme. It really is therapy more than it is Catholicism, which I feel like for Daredevil needs to be at least somewhat present, right? He has to be in a church feeling guilty at some point. He has to like pray on the rosary before he goes and like beats up a bad guy or something. And
definitely,
it feels like he's walked away from that towards therapy in the same way that he walked away from, you know, Hell's Kitchen towards living in some like yuppie apartment in Brooklyn.
Anyway, Zach, don't even get me started. All right, you got anything else?
I don't.
Oh my gosh, I do have something. I'm so glad I remembered. It's really stupid that Matt Murdock can feel a painting of a face and know that it's his girlfriend's face. I don't care how good the art is. That's absurd.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I had to take my phone out and write it in my notes. It was so stupid. But it was fine also. Everything's fine at the end of the day. You get over it in the next scene. It's done.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand the desire to really overpower Daredevil and say that his heightened senses can completely make up for him being blind. But I don't think that should be the case. I think there should be some times where, you know, like it's important to know what color something is, and he doesn't know, or he can't read what's written on a computer screen. Just occasionally, I'd like for his blindness to be relevant to the plot in a way where his other senses don't just immediately make up for it.
Definitely, and like they did sort of have that earlier when they had like the cops with the Punisher tattoos that like he can't see, you know. But yeah, the painting thing, and I guess in the comics, in the Muse storyline, not that this is why I didn't like this. I didn't know about this until, you know, afterwards, but I guess that's also one of the reasons it was harder to catch Muse, because he couldn't see the clues that he was leaving behind in his artwork, you know? So it's kind of like, that's the opposite of what happened in the comics. Not that I really care that much about that. I'm not right. A comic dork or anything.
No, God forbid. We don't have a podcast 101 episodes deep about comics.
Let's go. I can't wait for 102.
I can't either.
You got anything else?
Nope, that's it for me, man.
Okay, nice. And these games start in 25 minutes. Thank you so much for everyone who listened, and thank you to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And once again, thanks to all the webheads for listening and leaving us a review or a comment. You can find us, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can leave us a message on Instagram at First Read Podcast, send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com, or find us on YouTube, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. See you next week, Zach.
See ya.